What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Chasing the Tide. It's your saltwater connection on the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. I'm your host, Dustin Nichols, back with you again with another episode. Been kind of slow lately. We're just doing these every 4 weeks now. I got kind of busy with work and things get hectic. Life happens. Everybody goes through all of that. So we're just rolling right now, doing one every 4 weeks. So I'm sorry I'm not getting more shows out there for y'all, but we have plenty of other shows and episodes on the Paddle and Fin Network. So yeah, go back and check everything out there. Everything from bass fishing for noobs. We got some hunting stuff going on. We got the reel down. Everything out there, man. We got a bunch of shows for everybody. Plenty of content out there. So y'all go check it out. Check it out on the page there. Check it out on the Paddle and Fin YouTube. It's all there for you. So I'm not going to sit here and rant anymore. We're going to get our guest on tonight. We have an angler from the Northeast up in the Connecticut area joining us tonight. We got Matt Stone coming in to us from the Northeast. What's going on, Matt? How's it going, man?
Hey, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, it's stoked. I've been a follower, been following you on the gram for a little while, and I was like, man, I need to reach out to that guy. I'm always looking for some, saltwater inshore anglers, and I'm always scanning the gram looking for stuff, like-minded anglers and everything that like to chase those big fish in the plastic boat. So I wanted to get you on,
Right.
and appreciate you taking the time to come on the show, and if you'll introduce yourself to everybody and then give them a little backstory on how you started fishing and then what led you into that plastic boat.
Sure. Yeah. So my name is Matt Stone. My Instagram Sunrise Kayak Fishing, and grew up in Vermont, but I live in Connecticut right now, and started kayak fishing when I was 16. I'm 35 now, and basically just started bass fishing, throwing a popper around little mill ponds in Vermont using a standard plastic kayak. And, from there I went to college in Maryland, lived in Baltimore for a long time. And, kind of wherever I went, I always, pulled around a yellow sit inside kayak. And eventually once I started fishing the Chesapeake Bay in a kayak, I upped it to kind of a fishing kayak that was basically just to sit inside with some rod holders. And from there, I really just, it started to feel like something that really, I couldn't stop doing it. Every second I got, I was going out after work. I was bringing my kayak to work on the roof of my car. I was a teacher for a very long time. And, I'd pull up to school with my kayak strapped to my roof and the rods in the back. And it's one of those things that once you get a taste of the saltwater inshore kayak, it is very hard to want to do anything else. Once you feel that tug from a 45-inch striped bass dragging you around, up north we call it the Nantucket sleigh ride. Once you feel that, it is like a drug in your veins. So since then, my wife and I moved up to southern Connecticut a few years ago, and I've really just gone full bore. I'm in the kayak. If the lakes aren't frozen, I'm in the kayak 12 months out of the year, and salt water from April through Thanksgiving, just going after everything. And it's just, I love the community. I love the studying of it all. I love the migrations of the saltwater fish, trying to figure those out. I like the weather charts. I love, and above all, I love getting up. In the summer, I'm usually up at 1 or 2 a.m. and I'm on the water by usually around 3 a.m. and being out there in the dark and in the little plastic boat under the stars with your line zipping is, I haven't found that feeling from any other aspect of my life. And so I just love it. I love it so much. And I'm just really lucky to have met all the awesome people I have along the way and to just be able to do what I love.
Oh yeah, I feel you on the nighttime strike missions during the full moon. Man, that's
Oh yeah.
when it's coming up in the fall and into the winter on those cold nights with light winds, full moon, major feeding period, moon overhead.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be chasing some big speckled trout, man, and that's what I love
Yeah.
to do. I love to chase those big specks, and they just they're a
Yeah.
different beast when they get over 24, 25 inches. And I'm fortunate enough to live in in a really cool fishery that we have chances at the 30-inch fish,
That's
the
awesome. Yeah,
dirty
those are pretty
30. Yeah.
fish.
But dude, I was
Yeah.
like, I started out in a yellow kayak too.
Yeah.
And I used to car top it on a little Corolla and a little Subaru or whatever. I can't remember what it was.
That was
That's
me too.
back in the
Mine was a
day, dude.
Corolla, and I cut a pool noodle in half and put those on the roof of the Corolla, and then strapped
Oh
the
dang!
kayak
I had
to the
racks.
roof
I had
all
two lay
bended.
racks. I surfed,
Yep.
so I grew up in the surf and skate industry as well. So I already had the rack. So I just boom. I got the kayak. I was like, man, I want to. I'm gonna get this. I can expand my range in the water because coming to
Yep.
Texas, a lot of people wade fish here. You walk into
Mhm.
spots. You can pull up and park and walk into the bay and wade around and there's some soft mud here and there, but a lot of it's sand bottom.
Mhm.
And that's what
Mhm.
threw me off when I moved here. It was like, man, what are them people doing walking way out? Oh man, that's that shallow way out there. All right, cool.
Yep.
And then the kayak expanded the range. But yeah, I was gonna say, man, I started out in a yellow kayak, and it's everybody that's listened to the humble beginnings of my kayak journey knows that it was called the Bruised Banana, named per the guys at work that were like, man, you need to do something. You need to do like some kind of fade or something. So I took like black spray paint and faded from the nose and the bow and the stern with black and into yellow. And they're like, dude, it looked like you got a big bruised banana on top of your car. And then ever since then, it was like SS Bruised Banana. I wrote it in permanent
Uh,
marker on the side, SS Bruised Banana.
you were
So
an OG kayak rigging customizer.
yeah, it was a Perception Pesca, yeah, Caster 12.5. Yeah, Perception. Yeah.
Nice. That's
The
awesome.
one where you kind of sit inside and the seat backs weren't worth the crap, and
Oh
so
yeah.
you had a
Yep.
upgraded one that kind of went up to your shoulders, and then I put a little cushion underneath it to get me up higher so I wasn't sitting in water. And but that little
Yep.
thing could move. I mean, it had a
Yeah.
pretty big tank well, and you could stuff your stuff in there. And I mean, it was just, once I graduated into the more fishing style kayaks, and the state, the seating just changed the game where you could stand up and
Hmm.
side cast and everything. It's
Yep.
got to be really cool when you were able to do that. But yeah, humble
Hmm.
beginnings for sure.
Yep. That's right.
Man. So yeah, you say you fish, uh, well, as long as the lakes aren't frozen as well. But then there's ice fishing as well. We were gonna get into
Mhm.
seasons up there. That's one thing I was looking at up there. I was up there last year, and it was beautiful when I was up there, like at the beginning of August. It wasn't hot at
Mhm.
all. Nice,
Yep.
cool mornings. We were on the water before the sun came up as well. Up there, fluking and chasing. Trying to get. I was getting my heart broken by some striper. It was pretty dang cool though, just to see them blow
They're
up
good at
on
that.
the top waters. But yeah,
Yep.
seasons up there, y'all definitely have more of a winter than most, especially me down here. I fish year round. So what gets you through the downtime? I mean, do you ice fish here and there, and you hunt? You hunt as well, huh?
Yeah, I've never. So I have buddies that hunt my land.
Okay.
I've not done it yet. I do want to get into bow hunting. That's kind of my. I don't know. I'm ready for it. I don't know if my wallet's ready for it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but but yeah. So usually for us, we have our big fall season, and our year ends with tog or blackfish, toe tog.
Oh yeah.
And
Good eating.
that fishing, it's really fun. It can most times of the year it's pretty shallow. You're usually shallower than 60 feet. That'll take us all the way through Thanksgiving, and that's a really fun way to fish. We still see some striper blitzes around that time of year, but it definitely tails off. And then
Yeah.
for me, I typically switch over to a lot of freshwater stuff throughout the winter. I learned how to use a center pin rod to drift fish creeks and rivers for salmon and
Oh, cool.
trout last winter. So that was really cool. I'm in the winter, basically December through call it February. My goal is to just be outside at least a couple
Right.
times a week. Like
Yeah.
my buddy and I have been out there in the river when it's 15, 16 degrees. Your beard's freezing, your guides are freezing.
Yeah.
It's not. I wouldn't necessarily call it like not
Layers are
luxury
your
at any
friend.
point.
Clothes. Like
Yeah.
there's some mornings in January this past year that I launched, and South Texas, and it was 28 degrees on my truck. The temperature reading.
Yep.
and it was
Oh yeah.
just it set up, and it was just the perfect wind and the way it was setting up, and the fish were there, and I had some pretty epic
Yeah.
days. And you just got to get out
That's,
there, you know. You
hmm
wear
Yeah.
layers,
There's
you're
stuff.
good, you know.
Yeah, and you see stuff in the wintertime that's it doesn't for me the spring, summer, fall is where it's at. But this past winter we actually had a really mild one up here in New England, and the lakes never really froze. I live right down the street from a lake, and it was really only frozen for I think 2 or 3 days, so the ice was barely anything. But
Yeah.
so what I ended up doing a lot of this past winter is I set up a couple of my lighter bass fishing rods with some ultralight like 6 pound mono, and I
Hmm.
actually threw my kayak in a lot of the lakes, and I trolled for trout with like inline spinners and little diving rapalas and stuff. And it was a blast. I was out there during a couple snowstorms, like snow
Oh
all up in
dang.
the trees, and you got your rods bending, and it's
Some good
January.
backdrop for the photos,
Yeah,
and
yeah, it's
and
cool.
then
It
can
it just
harvest
feels
some.
good to
I
be
guess
outdoors.
is the season open that time of year where you're able to keep a few
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
trout and
during certain
salmon?
parts of the winter.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So it's fun. I'm
some good
basically just
eating.
waiting until. What'd you say?
I say good eating for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just kind of surviving through the winter then, just trying to get. Um, Usually around March, I'll start hitting lakes for some of the early season freshwater fish, and then in mid-April, our spring tog or blackfish season opens, and when that water hits the 50-degree mark in the ocean, I won't see fresh water again until December.
There you go. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. If it We don't get a whole lot of. I mean, it'll get down in the 50s, and then it might get down in the 40s. But like a couple years ago, we had a pretty crazy freeze. We
I
had
remember
water
reading
temps
about
down
that.
in the low 30s,
Mm,
and we had some fish kills and all that. We had some regulation changes and all that, and that clause just sunset, and it reverted back to what it was before. But there's still some
oh,
stuff
okay.
going on with that. I did see some changes, here and
Mm,
there, but it's the way they had it set up with the slot limit they had the last 2 years. There's definitely been an impact on it. Kind of,
yeah.
but the biomass of the spawning fish definitely has increased for sure. So I mean,
Hmm.
you know, just cold, but it was cold. I mean, we had multiple. I don't think we got above freezing for like 4 days. It was like
That'll do
19 to
it.
20. Yeah, it was a big cold snap. Yeah, but
Hmm.
yeah, you're up there where that weather is definitely different than this down here. It's a little bit longer,
It's
a
still
little more of
cold,
that
but
white stuff on the ground. But yeah, you're in the
yep.
land of big striper. So I
Mm,
had the privilege of traveling up there last year to Niantic with Three Bells Outfitters there, and
hmm
definitely got my heart broken. So yeah, I can understand being addicted to chasing that. So just if you can just give the listeners like an insight on the passion for those fish, because I see if y'all go and check him out there, check out Matt on IG. His Sunrise Kayak Fishing, at Sunrise Kayak Fishing, and you're going to see plenty of 35-inch plus striped bass. And it looks like a lot of them come on that. I think what tackle store was it? JT's? Is that the tackle store up there? Maybe I went to that one.
there's J&B, and
J and
then
B, that's the one.
mhm,
Them guys gave me
mhm.
all the intel. They said, "Hey, you need to get some of these gravity GT eels." I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm
Yep.
gonna get some of those because the cobia over here are gonna kill them." Yeah,
Yeah, we
and
sell
then those
those. I
Albie
worked at
snacks,
yeah,
those
those are
Albie
good
snacks,
too.
the pink ones, dude. I wrecked the redfish on them on the flats, dude.
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah,
those things catch
fast
everything.
twitching, they kill them.
Yep.
Yeah, the bass like them too in the lakes over the hydrilla.
Yep.
Yeah,
They'll,
yeah.
those are like the unit. They're like a chubby Senko.
They are. They're super killer.
Hmm.
Yeah. I brought some back. I bought like 5 packs.
Nice. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
but yeah, talk about that passion for those big striped bass. And share with everybody.
Yeah, they're a special fish. I very quickly fell in love with them. I've been fishing for them since I was little. But I've been fascinated always with they're like a large migratory fish, so
Yeah.
they're spending their winters down, off the Carolinas.
Hmm.
Some of them winter over, of course, in like our rivers and in the Chesapeake and in different areas down the coast. There's a lot of, we call them holdovers, some of those fish, but um, I think I'm fascinated with them mostly through a huge respect for the journey that they go through to end up in Connecticut. You know, I'm not the most northern reach of their travels, but I'm pretty darn close. And
Yeah.
um, they're strong, they're smart. I mean, they know if they're in the rocks and you hook them above the rocks, they know to get down near rocks. Like I've fought fish that repeatedly return to the same rock to try to get your line snapped off. And um, I like them too because they have personalities. Like not all 45-inch fish fight the same way. So
Mm.
we were talking before we started recording here.
Yeah.
Every now and then, it happened to me in August. Every now and then you hook one and you know it was a giant. Like I'm primarily targeting fish 45 inches plus. That's my, really what I live for is chasing those fish. But every now and then you hook one and it just abuses you, and you can get the fanciest gear and tie the best knots, but
Yeah.
you're in their home, baby. Like that's their house. And so I just love them, man. They fight, they jump, they hit everything. They're ferocious. They're just really cool fish. And a lot of, like I was saying earlier, my love for them is rooted really heavily in like respect for them. Like one of my favorite parts is when I catch them, I get my photo, and then I put them in the water to revive them. And those that minute or so where I'm reviving them, and you really just get to like look them in the eye and just like respect the power that they have and all that they gave you. And then you get to see them kick away. And that is like, for me, that's the moment, that whole thing comes full circle. So I really started chasing like any stripers, and then just in the past few years since I moved up here, I've really refined my tactics and gear to be
Trophy size.
A big striper chaser. And I work at another tackle shop that's a little bit west of J&B called Black Hall Outfitters in Westbrook, Connecticut.
Okay.
And through working there, I've met so many really talented guys, and I spend my whole day talking about fishing and really just like have gone full bore into that. So most of my really heavy summer days, I'm, like I was saying earlier, I'm up at 1 a.m. and the coffee's going, and I'm on the water at 2:30 first cast, and it's just so cool, man. They're just such awesome fish. And then we got to soak it in, right? Because right now we're recording this at the end of September. I'll be darn lucky if I see a 40+ incher before next June. So they're here and they're gone. So they're pretty awesome fish. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Fishing before work, after work. I picked up an overtime shift at work last night and worked last night graveyards and had my stuff with me and was on the water at 5:30 this morning.
Yeah,
straight off work. Sacrifice sleep for the passion, for the therapy. It was a rough week last week, so it was nice to. I think I fished every day since I got off Thursday. I fished every day except Monday so far, and I'm gonna fish tomorrow and Friday and Saturday and Sunday probably. It depends on what the wife says too. So happy wife, happy life. You got to take care of that part of things too. As long as I get my daughter to school or get her to the golf course, I have my stuff with me and take off. I might get on the water a little later than I would like to, but the midday bite's been pretty good lately. So
nice.
It's definitely fun.
That's what I always tell myself, like up here. I'm always like, if I pass up a trip in August, what would I think about that in February when all I want to do is have a 1 a.m. alarm set to go chase fish. So I always in the summertime, like for me, June, July, August are really the big striper months. And I fish usually 2 morning trips, and then I usually do 2 night trips. So 4 days a week I get to get on the water. And those night trips, I'm usually fishing by 7 p.m. And if the bite's good, I won't get home until past midnight. And if it's really good, I might go straight to work from the water. I always got that winter in my mind.
I've done that before, not get off the water in time and just fish, and then like, oh, I need to be at work in an hour. Oh, I guess I'm just going straight to work and take a shower.
Yep.
And then I'm definitely going to be hurting all night.
Yep.
I mean, luckily, some nights, I work at a petrochemical plant. I'm normally in front of like 8 computer monitors running the process of some equipment, compressors, blowers and it's chlorine and hydrogen systems, and we make bleach and hydrochloric acid and stuff used in wastewater treatment and all kind of stuff, so it can be pretty tedious, but once you get things lined out, it's like pretty, you make it Cadillac. So you're not, if you have an upset, that's a different story, and that's what we went through last week. That's why I was so glad to get on the water Friday. And I got into I got onto one flat, and I probably pulled 9 30-inch plus redfish on top water on walking baits off of it, and they were just blasting it out of the water. It was pretty insane.
That'll feed the soul.
I love the big fish too, the big reds and the big trout. So I do like the bass fish. That's kind of where I started, back in the day, fishing the golf course ponds and all that in southeast Georgia. I'm originally from Georgia. So you have some, like when I was up there, I was like pretty surprised to see some of the little ponds, and I can't remember the name of them there in Niantic, but there's like 2 or 3 that were like you could launch and just go wreck the 16, 17 bass all afternoon. I had a pretty dang fun time. So like, but as passionate as you are about the big striper, you kind of like just like
the fresh.
I don't have time for those ditch pickles.
It is. I will admit, like I am the percentage of salt versus fresh for me. When I first started kayak fishing, it was 100 fresh, 0 salt, and then at a certain point, probably towards the last few years of when I lived in Baltimore, it was probably 50-50. And then when I moved up here, it was maybe 70, salt, 30 fresh, and now it's about 95-5.
I'm about 90-10.
Yeah, it's just and it's not because I dislike any of the freshwater fishing. I actually usually, when I take a day or a couple hours to go down the street to the lake and throw a hollow body frog over some pads, like I usually end up leaving that being like, man, I missed that, but there's just nothing for me that compares to a 45-inch striper hitting a 9-inch topwater bait, and dragging you around the water. Like I would fish all day for one 40-inch striper before I'd catch 5 2-pound bass,
Same
and
here.
It's not because I dislike back, but it's just what I love. And the ocean too, like the ocean you see stuff on the ocean. I was out about 3-4 weeks ago fishing at sunrise, and out of nowhere a pod of 60 dolphins came by. And that's not normal. I'm in the Long Island Sound, so we're a sound. So we have an entrance to the sound on one side of an island and a smaller entrance on the other side, and that's the only way to get into the Long Island Sound unless you go through New York City and the Hudson River. If anyone's listening, look at it on a map real quick. It's basically like our east-west running 9 miles, across from Connecticut to Long Island. That's us. And so to see dolphins in there, we have guys jumping tarpon every now and then up here now, which is like absolutely wild. I saw a sea turtle. I saw a sea turtle like 3 weeks ago. It's just the ocean has those things about it that you see that just you can't see anywhere else. So the ocean definitely has
mean too. We had some wind come up on us, and it was like pretty dang gnarly in there.
Yeah, it can get the sound can get because it's so thin and gets deep quickly. The current really rips,
and then the wind.
You got to know
with the fetch.
You got to know your stuff. Yeah, because you can be out there and where you launch might be totally flat, but if you go out and, for example, you have an east wind against an outgoing tide, and an outgoing tide in the sound runs west to east, those things are colliding, and it's an absolute mess. It can get really. Yesterday, actually, I launched into what looked like 1 to 2 foot rollers, and I got out there and the wind switched, and I was in 4 to 5 footers, and it was not fun. It was definitely sketchy.
That's sketch. Oh yeah, it got on us. It got to like 35-mile-an-hour gusts in the afternoon, and luckily we were in a protected area, and the tide had switched, so it was going the same way.
Nice.
So it wasn't fighting each other, so we got lucky. And just kind of fished around in like 30 foot of water, and we were catching like 17, 18-inch fluke all evening, which was still fun because it's something I had, sitting there just, just drifting and dragging. I had the two ounce like ball head bucktails with a little grub up top, like rig, and was getting after it. I had a blast doing that. So
that's fun.
And then what else I was gonna get in on talk about the tog. You know, you say you got 2 seasons. You got a fall season and a spring season for those, and on those, are you targeting those like they're very similar in tendencies to like a sheephead? What I catch over
Yes.
here, where I throw
Yep.
like a crab imitation or fiddlers or something. Is it bait called
Yeah,
over
you
there, or
nailed
you
it.
throw artificials as well?
98% of guys are going green crabs, which are like an invasive, the green
Oh yeah.
crab up here. You buy those by the gallon up
Okay, you
here.
buy them at the
Um,
tackle shops,
Yep, you
bait
buy them
shops.
live, and you buy them live, and typically you bring a 5 gallon bucket full of those guys and a pair of scissors, and you snip them in half. You cut, depending on, some guys like the legs
Yeah,
on, some guys like the legs off, and then you hook a jig just like you would a sheep's
yeah,
head jig, like a bottom sweeper or something
yep.
like that. And you're dropping it anywhere from, during the right conditions, we can get 10-pound fish in 5 foot of water, and sometimes you're up in there throwing 5/8 ounce, half ounce jigs, and sometimes you're out deeper, using a rig with like an octopus hook on it and like a six
Right.
eight ounce weight. Sometimes the guys that go out and do the reefs, like out in boats like that, they're anchoring up and they're using like 12 to 16 ounces of weight. Um,
Dang.
so yeah, but it's that stuff is huge for us. I
Yeah.
think partially it's
And
because it's
they're
our last
structure
fishery.
oriented fish just as well, like
Yeah,
sheephead. They like the
rocks,
islands,
docks,
rocks,
jetties.
pilings, jetties. Yeah.
Yep, you
Yeah.
got it. And they fight like hell too, just like
Yeah.
sheep's head. Like they'll test your knots, they'll test your gear ratio on your reel. Like a lot of guys use high speed conventional reels. I use a 7.1 to 1 with 40-pound braid, 60-pound leader, power knob. But like you got to get them away from those rocks, just like a sheep's
Yeah.
head, or get away
Yeah.
from the jetty or away from the dock piling, whatever it may be.
I get lucky, and I get them. I have some flats that has a lot of shell, a lot of oyster. It's only like a
Mm-hmm.
foot and a half to 2 foot deep, and it gets pretty clear in the wintertime. You know, the turbidity can settle out lot easier and in cooler water. So
Mm-hmm.
you can sight fish them with a little 2000 series spinner reel and a little crusty
Cool.
crab. You know, the
That's
little
awesome.
crab imitation. So you can like put it in front of them, and they're like 6 7 pound sheephead. You're fighting on a
Oh, that's cool.
15-pound braid with a 15-pound fluorocarbon leader, hoping they're not going to cut you off on the oyster below them.
That's cool. What a
So it's
fun way to
pretty
catch
fun.
them.
It's pretty fun to catch them like that. You know, you get a lot
Yeah.
in the 4 pound range, but every now and then you'll get like a 6 or 7. And then
Cool.
they burn the drag. They're strong fight fish, and they're tasty table fare as well. I believe the tog are the same.
Yep.
Pretty sweet white flesh, and can do a lot with them. And help. I
Yep.
mean, that's what they eat. They eat shellfish and
Hmm.
sweet crustaceans. So that's what they're gonna kind of flavor.
Yep.
Have
A
the
lot of people
same
do a
taste.
chowder up here, chowder with the
Oh
dog.
man. Oh, I
Yeah,
bet
that's
that'd
a
be
big one.
good. I make a mean
Yeah.
clam chowder myself, man.
There you go. Throw some
Yeah.
sheep's head or something in there. That's what
I need
everyone
to
does
do it
up
with
here
sheep
with it.
head. Yeah, I do it. I
Yeah.
put leeks in mine. I roast the leeks and with the potatoes and some fresh thyme, and I actually cook the potatoes in the clam juice. And
Nice.
yeah, lots of heavy cream,
There you
fresh
go.
garlic, lots of butter. Yeah.
That's good
I
stuff.
went to culinary school back in the day, so I do like to cook. So
Nice.
that's
That's
something
cool.
I can fall back on, just like you with the teaching. That's my wife's an educator as well, so
Oh, nice.
she's wanting to get in the room here in about another 30 minutes and go to bed. And I'm like, babe, I've been up all night and since yesterday. I think I slept 3 hours yesterday before I went to work. I'm
Running
like,
on fumes.
yeah, I'm running on fumes right now for sure, definitely. So about the teaching, talk about transitioning from that. You worked as a teacher for how many years?
11. Hmm.
11 years, and now you're working. You're full time at a Blackwater
Black Hall Outfitters.
Black
Yeah, we're
Hole
like,
Outfitters. Yeah.
yep.
Yes, and
Yeah.
4 times. So that's more time on the water. Is that what it ended up being?
It's different time on the water, like different
Yeah.
days of the week. It's really it's kind of been the most awesome whirlwind that I never would have predicted 5 years ago if you had asked me. I love teaching. My parents are both educators. I up until the day that I resigned, still loved it. I got a lot out of it. Did it for a long time. I have my master's in education,
Cool.
so it was always the plan. And then and I taught English. I was an English teacher, and I started freelance writing for some fishing magazines, and around that same time, I started my Instagram page, which kind of like connected me to a bunch of different people. And then when we moved up here, I actually messaged the owner on Instagram, the page that I actually run now for the tackle shop, which is at BHO Fishing. I
Cool.
messaged the owner there and just looking for a summer job, just looking,
Yeah.
I always got summer jobs. I worked on a lot of farms, stuff like that, like stuff I can be outdoors or do something manual that different from teaching. And started working there in the summer and just freaking loved it, man. I love helping people. I like talking to them
Yeah.
about what's catching out there, where to go, where to try. They come back the next day and they got a photo of something they caught using advice that I gave them. And it is so cool. And then the writing kept picking up. I was writing for a bunch of different magazines and websites, and it eventually I started to learn more at the shop and just sort of like feel in the summer would kind of be nearing the end of it, and the shop, I just felt like I was dialed in. I knew everything we had
Yeah.
and what was on order, and I was learning new skills and using my brain in all these different ways that was different from teaching, but still with that teaching aspect of helping people.
Yes.
And a couple of years ago, the owner of the tackle shop, the shop is growing, doing well, and he offered me a managerial position. There's two other managers as well, and we each have our specialties, and it ended up being a really good fit. And so I this past year was my final year teaching, and I resigned and joined Black Hall full time as a manager and the social media coordinator, and it's just been awesome. So in terms of time on the water, I'm a morning guy, so my summer hours, I work 5 days a week, just like anyone else, 40 plus hours, whatever it takes to get the job done on a given day, but usually around 40. But in the summertime, my shifts are 5 a.m. to 2 p.m. or 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. And so I get my afternoons. I have a 2-year-old son, so I get time with him. I get to pick him up from daycare. And then during the summer, I work weekends, which is fine because I'm done by 2, so I still get most of my day with my family. But the days off for me during the summer are 2 weekdays, so I get to be out on the water on days when almost no one else is. And so that's the best part. So my days off, I'm up even earlier on my days off than I am on my work days. So that's been pretty cool. Right now I have Mondays, or I have Tuesdays and Sundays off. So I still get that Tuesday. Yesterday I spent my whole day, I drove 2.5 hours to Cape Cod at 2 a.m. and fished the whole day out on Cape Cod, and then picked up my son back home in Connecticut at 4 from daycare. So it's definitely
Cool. There you go.
yeah, it's cool, man. It's definitely different. And I love a good adventure. I slept in my car like a month ago, the night before, like fished all night, drove to Rhode Island, slept in my car in the boat ramp parking lot, woke up and fished there all day. And, like it's been cool. So the switch has been really neat. It's definitely been, it's different, and I absolutely love it. I'm still writing. I'm still have that teaching part of helping people, but fishing was always my passion, and helping people is embedded within that. So I feel like I'm sort of living in a little bit of a dream right now, getting to do what I'm passionate about and have it also pay the bills. It's really cool. I'm just really grateful for it.
Yeah, I know. I sometimes I'll just sit there and just scratch my head. It's like, man, I'm all in this kayak fishing thing. It's like I don't spend any of my money I make from my real job. It's all supplemental now. It's like, how did this happen? I don't know. I just I have to stand back and think about it every now and then. It's like, and appreciate everything and the opportunities and all that. It's pretty cool to be out and have a platform to talk about this with other anglers as well.
Yeah, it's awesome,
and share with people what's possible, what is possible out there with hard work.
Yeah, putting in the time.
Sure.
Yeah, it's fun, man. It's fun. That's a big part for, I'm sure, down in Texas with all the fresh and saltwater stuff. Up here, the kayak fishing community is just so cool. I have met so many awesome people that I absolutely never would have met. And I have guys, I'm sure you do too. I have guys that I've been talking with on Instagram for years who I've never even met in person.
Oh yeah.
And I would consider them good friends.
Yeah, and I'm like, I need to, like, hey, we need to hook up. And this, like, I found you, like, there's been quite a few cool friendships started just by having people on the show as well. You
Yeah.
know, and,
Yeah.
and then we have a great trail here, Texas Kayak Bass League. They just piggybacked and they did a joint event on Rayburn with the Hobie BOS
Oh,
uh,
cool.
this past weekend, and a lot of those guys have freaking won. You know, they've been, and I usually fish a lot of their events when I have my days off. Normally, I'm
Hmm.
not going to take time off to fish bass tournaments, but I'll take a day off to fish a redfish tournament.
Yeah, there you go.
But I do have a multi species event coming up. I was going to plug it real quick.
Yeah.
On October 21st, 22nd, we got the Redfish Greenfish Smackdown, and it's redfish on day one. Your best three fish, 18 to 32-inch slot, and then the second day is your best five bass with the 12-inch minimum on Lake Bass Drop, which is a Central Texas lake, and pretty easy to catch fish in. You know, that way you got saltwater guys that might be kind of afraid to go chase them greenfish. You know, you can go throw a Cinco all day around the region and fill a limit pretty easily. But yeah, it's the stuff like that where I might not bass fish all the time because I'm always. I mean, when I leave work, I can launch in 5 minutes and be on redfish like 10 minutes from the boat ramp. You know, 5 minutes
Awesome.
away. You know, so bass fishing, I gotta drive. I gotta drive an hour and a half to get to some of the lakes, and maybe three or
Hmm.
four to some of the different ones. So, you know, I'll go here and there,
Hmm.
or I'll just show up blind to a tournament and ruffle some feathers and cash a check every now and then. You know, because I'm a power
There you
fisherman
go.
on the bass side, so I don't like the finesse stuff. I'm usually throwing top water walking baits,
I'm with
frogs,
you.
you know, chatter baits, big glide baits, and all
Yep.
that good stuff. So, man,
That's me
it's
too. Hmm.
you know, it's fun. I still have fun at it. You know, I just I wish there was more time in the day. You know, sometimes you're like, man, it's already dark. But yeah, yeah, it's
Yep.
all good. But yeah, we're gonna talk about some gear. I was wanting to bring up some of your favorite tackle and tactics for specific species and for striper. That's what I was really wanting
Hmm.
to talk about was you know, your conventional or spinning reels, and what are you normally throwing? Are you going by what they're feeding on and what they're keyed in on, as far as like if there's bunker around, or if there's um you know, I don't know how prevalent the eels are, but they sure do slam the dang eel lures and the tube lures
They
as
love
well.
them.
Yeah, so if you talk a little bit about
Hmm.
that, I'd be curious to hear some more info on some of that stuff.
Yeah, so for us, our first big striper bite is when the migratory bass follow the bunker schools in. And when we're saying inshore, we're talking sometimes 5 to 10 miles up a river system. The bunker will go and those bass will follow them. So, but mostly we're talking inshore, you know, immediate shoreline in the first mile or so of any rivers around there. And that bite, I always describe it to customers at the tackle shop. A lot of the times, those fish they come in and for the first little bit, they'll eat anything, and then they very quickly, I call it bunker drunk. They get bunker drunk, and it doesn't matter if the lure you have looks exactly like a bunker. They will not
They
sniff it a
won't
lot
touch
of the
it.
time.
Yeah.
You need a snag. We call it snag. It's not technically snag and drop, but we snag bunker with a weighted treble hook. You cast
Hmm.
past the school and you rip the hook through them. You get them, bring them in, and then you're not allowed in Connecticut. You're not allowed to snag them and then let that weighted treble hook fall. You have to pull them out and you have to hook them with a circle hook.
Okay.
So that is a time of year when I'm very much using live bait
Yeah.
and specifically bunker. I've been in a corner of a spot where there's 10 boats and everybody's hooking up with 40+ inch stripers, and I've had a live eel down there and I don't get sniffed, and every one of those guys is dropping a bunker down and getting bit
Hmm.
within 10 seconds. So they really get dialed
They
on
get
that. And then
finicky.
as as the summer moves on, they tend to leave the immediate river systems when that water gets warm, and that's when I pretty much start using. I use the gravity tackle eels. That's my number one like big fish producer. I on a given trip out, like my night trips that go into the early morning, I have a gravity tackle rod and reel. I'm usually using like a 1/2 ounce jig head and throwing that in towards the shore.
Mm-hmm.
I have a live eel rod and reel because there are days where they love the live eels and not the gravity tackle. There are days where they love the gravity and not the live, and there's days where
Hmm.
they do both. So I always want to be prepared. And then I usually have two big plug rods where I'm throwing, the big topwater stuff, like you were saying, the docks, or
Yep.
there's a really popular plug in Connecticut called the Mully, made by 24/7 Lures. That's what I tend to
Oh, okay.
throw. And then I have another rod that I use for trolling tubes, and that's something I usually switch to when the sun goes up. And so those baits, live eels, gravity tackle eels, big topwater plugs, and tubes, those
Yep.
are my four baits that take me basically from late June all the way until it gets too cold to catch the
And
fish.
what is the tube imitating, an eel
Yeah, it's
or
meant to imitate an eel. It is
a
absolutely mind
bloodworm or
blowing
something?
that they love it. I don't tip it with anything. A lot
Yeah.
of guys put like a worm on the back of
Uh
it.
huh.
I've never, I have before, but I also often go out without any bait to put on the back of the tube, and I've never noticed a really distinct difference. There's never been a day where I'm like, oh, I'm not getting bites. Let me put a trailer on it. Now I
And they're like
am.
bent,
You
they're
know.
like bent funky, and they like roll like a spiral in the water, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you. One thing I always tell our customers when you first buy them, you tie them in like an overhand knot, and you give it like a little
Ah,
tug, and then you untie it, and it puts a little extra bend in it, and it looks
cool.
absurd. It's surgical tubing and cable,
Yeah,
with like a
yeah,
hook
that's
on the
what it
back of
is. It's
it.
like I was
But
like, wow,
something
they
about
catch
it,
fish on
it
those.
drives them nuts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
heard,
I was in.
I
We
heard
have the
about that.
big East Coast Striper tournament every year called
Yeah.
Striper Cup, put on by On the Water magazine. And I was fortunate enough to win the kayak division this year. And of the
Oh,
10
that's
fish that
awesome.
I entered, six of them came on the gravity tackle eel. Yeah, it was very cool. Six of them came on the gravity tackle eel. Three came on the tube, and one came on a live eel. So that kind of is how I
Yeah.
classify, like,
Dang.
year to year. Last year was a better topwater bite. This year, eels.
Yeah, I got my. I lost two of those docks. Those are like $28 a piece.
Yeah, they're
They're not as expensive as
yeah, they're
some of the
pricey.
glide baits and everything, but they're pretty pricey. But yeah, I was gonna say you had a
Yeah.
giant tog last year. You came within like less than a pound of the state catch and release record. Like gigantic tog.
Yeah, yeah. It was that was a cool fish, man. That was actually an April fish. It was in April of 2021, and
Oh, 2021. Okay.
not a lot of people fish the spring hog. Yeah, not a lot of people fish it in the spring because it's still pretty cold and there's not a lot of bycatch. You're
Yeah.
getting primarily tog. That's all you're getting.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, to be honest, man, I have a lot of luck. I'm not a prolific tog fisherman. I spend a
Right.
lot of time doing it and I really enjoy it. Some guys have like a gene in them that's like tog master gene. I do not have that.
Because
But
you
I
had
did
caught a
get very
smaller one like the
lucky.
drop before, right?
My Yeah, yeah, and they do, like, they get pulled in by the scent of those crabs, and
Oh man.
I had actually caught my personal best, which was 8 pounds earlier that day, and
Yes.
then that fish hit, and it was 23 pounds, and
Oh my
it's
gosh.
as far as we've been able to find, it's the kayak record, which is pretty cool, but it got close to
That's
a couple
yeah.
other records too, so I'm really grateful because that's an old fish that's seen a lot, and I was happy to watch it swim off. It was really cool. We got a replica of it in the shop, which is pretty neat.
Dang man. Oh, that's insane. I just couldn't even imagine the the strength of that fish.
Yeah.
Because I could think of a 23-pound sheephead and what it would do. Be hard to turn it.
Right?
It'd be
Yeah.
a fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It definitely was a lot of luck. It was a lot of like it ran the right way. It ran away from the structure I was on, which
Yeah.
definitely doesn't always happen. And by the time it came back underneath the kayak, I was spot locked in the Old Town Autopilot. That's my primary
Yeah.
kayak. I was spot locked, and it came back underneath me near the structure I was fishing. But by that time, I had gotten it up off the bottom, and it
Mm-hmm.
never got all the way back down. It definitely dug and ran, but I was lucky the hook didn't bend out. I was lucky my knots didn't pull. 10 things had to go right, and I kind of threaded the needle and ended up with a really special fish. So it was cool. It was definitely a special day.
Dang. Yeah, that's insane. Y'all could check out the pictures of that fish. I think it's one of your pin posts on your Instagram page.
Yep.
That fish is gigantic. They had a big head on it. They got funky teeth like sheephead as well.
It was a cool one. Yeah.
Look like they're smiling at you. Yeah. So, man, we're getting close to a little over 45 minutes. I know I could talk the paint off of the wall. It's all good. But yeah, normally I do these things called a quick five where I just throw random questions out there out of the blue and it's just answer on the fly. Cool. So here you go. Deep dish or thin?
All right. I love it.
Deep dish or thin? Pizza? Thin? All right. Pats or Jets?
Thin.
Pats or Jets?
Ravens. Neither one. I'm a Ravens.
Oh, fan. Ravens. There you go. Good. I'll take that. Hot dog or hamburger?
Hamburger, baby, all day.
Cool deal. Yep. Same here. Unless they're grilled. I can't do like boiled hot dogs. Mets or Yankees?
Orioles, Baltimore.
Orioles, there you go.
Especially this year, yeah.
All right. Spring or fall? Which bite?
Ooh, fall. Definitely fall. Yeah.
You can take both, too. No, always just random stuff, man. I always come up with random stuff. I mean, it all depends on who's on the show.
I love it.
You're in the Northeast, so I was like, I'm gonna go pizza and hot dogs, and then like some of the teams up there. But cool, yeah, I'm a Braves fan, but I get on the Astros bandwagon when they win.
Yeah, you got it. You
got to. Yeah, but yeah, man. Y'all go check out Matt on the Sunrise Kayak Fishing on the IG, and check out his place of occupation, BHO Fishing, correct? At BHO Fishing.
Yep.
Black Hole Outfitters. Yeah. Yep. Good stuff. Looked like it's a pretty cool shop too. I already went on there and followed them myself, so definitely gonna
Thank you.
Be following them as well. But yeah, everybody, we appreciate everybody on the show watching. We wouldn't be here without the listeners and the people that watch this. So it's that time. We're about to close up. Matt, if you got any shout outs, thank yous or anything, yeah, it's yours, man. The mic's yours.
Oh yeah, thank you to you for having me. I appreciate it, and yeah, I think definitely thank you to everybody who's part of this really cool kayak fishing community that just has no bounds of kindness and helping each other and friendships, whether you've met in person or not, like we were talking about earlier. Because below maybe above all the catching and the sunrises and all that stuff, there's those friendships and that kind of shared love of the same thing, and that's pretty cool. So thank you to everybody who's a part of that, and everyone who follows my adventures and your adventures, and lets us spend a part of our lives doing what we love, because that's pretty cool stuff.
No doubt. I can get with that, man, for sure. Yeah. Then you fish a lot unit with them raccoon eyes, man.
Yeah,
I got so sunburned today. It was like, good grief. I need my sunglasses on right here. I'm squinting already.
There you go.
But yeah, man, we appreciate you coming on Chasing the Tide, brother. We'll definitely be in touch. Who knows? I might end up back up that way and might have to go see if you can put me on my first big striper over 30 inches, since I couldn't bust that on my own. So I tried. I gave it a good fight. I definitely hooked some good ones, but I couldn't crack that 30-inch mark. So, and I wasn't throwing bait. I was throwing artificials the whole time. So, yeah, we might have to make the trek up there next summer. I might have to bring the wife. She's been bugging me to go up there anyway. So, just might have to do that.
That's pretty, man. Yeah, you know where to find me. I'll be there.
Cool deal. Well, we appreciate you, man. Hang tight, and we'll run this closer, and we're going to shut down the show. Thanks for everybody tuning in, Chasing the Tide on the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. Cheers.